How long are you going to keep following me?
Until you tell me what I need to know. Until you tell me what you know. Oh, I love it when we're on the same page.
Then why don't you just ask Clover?
Clover?
You already know she works with me.
All the dots. You gotta point dots, but she does look up to you. Well, yeah.
Then why don't you...
I wanted to hear it from you.
Why?
That's a good question. Remember the crew quarters for this garden? We got paired up for 2 separate rounds. That means I've spent more time with you than anybody else here. Maybe that's it. I guess I'm just curious about you.
What are you talking about?
She spun around to hide it, but I caught a blush of red on her cheeks. Ooh. We walked down the path to where it ended next to the pond. I stayed silent. Alice sat down on the bench. We gazed at the smooth surface of the pond for several long minutes before she began to speak.
You don't hate me?
This is so weird because we were just here with Luna. And why is there music box music playing right now? That is so creepy, game. What? Why?
I tried to kill you.
You mean an AV game? And technically you actually did kill me, but you know, that's another world, universe, thing. Yeah.
Yes.
All the dots. All the... Mom, still here, dots.
I was so scared. Who wouldn't be? Kidnapped and locked up, forced to play some sort of bizarre game. And then we found that bomb. I know I probably sounded calm, but as soon as we found that thing, all I wanted to do was run away from it as fast as I could. Things just went downhill from there.
What do you mean?
I remember hearing that Quark had collapsed and running to the infirmary with everyone else. When I got there, I realized I couldn't understand what anyone was saying.
By the way, this is beautiful music.
And everything looked... I don't know how to describe it. It was like watching a video on fast forward, only it was real. Then I started to feel like... It's hard to explain. I guess you could say I didn't feel like I was myself, and it only got worse.
That was probably the Radical 6.
Yes, I think so. I don't remember much after that. But when I woke up in the infirmary, suddenly all that fear was back. So all I could think about was getting out of this place as fast as I could. It never even crossed my mind that it could kill you. God help me, even if it had, I don't think I would have cared.
All the dots. All the... I guess I kind of understand dots?
See? I'm horrible. You hate me, don't you? Just do it!
What? Do what?
Kill me! Get it over with!
What the heck, Alice? I'm not going to kill you. I don't even hate you.
You're lying! I could have killed you. I would have killed you.
Come on, calm down. No one's killing anyone. All the dots. All the... I'm so sad dots. All the dots. All the it's okay dots. A single tear rolled down Alice's cheek. Then another and another, leaving shining lines across her face. When I reached out, I saw her tense just slightly. Slowly, I brushed my thumb across her cheek and off, taking the tears with it.
Why are you doing this?
All the dots. All the because I care dots.
You know, you kind of remind me of my father.
That's who you were after, right? The people who killed your dad?
Yes.
Did they have anything to do with the Myrmidons? All the dots. All the... my daddy dots. All the dots. All the... Tell me about your father, Dots.
Will you promise not to tell Clover that I cried?
Ha! Come on.
If you keep your mouth shut, I'll tell you what you want to know. About myself. And about the Myrmidons. Deal?
Sure. My lips are sealed.
Really?
What, crying? I don't remember any crying.
Good. All right, then.
Alice took a deep breath and began, "Oh, this is gonna be good." My father is Egyptian, but my mother is French. They met while my mother was in Egypt on vacation and married shortly thereafter. When I was 3, we moved to the US. My father was a scientist, and his field was cloning. He was recruited by an American lab, which is why we moved. Both of my parents had used English around me from the time I was born, so I didn't have any problems adapting to the life in the United States. By my 9th birthday, we'd been there for 6 years. That was when it happened. In the middle of the day, my mother showed up at school. Her eyes were red and puffy, but she didn't say anything to me on the drive home. When we arrived, there were several policemen there to meet us. My father had always been a very punctual man, and when dinner time came and went with no sign of him, even I began to realize something terrible had happened. It wasn't until several years later that I finally learned the truth. My father's lab had been attacked by terrorists, and he had been kidnapped. Aww. For the rest of my childhood, my mother raised me by herself. I didn't realize it then, but it must have been incredibly difficult for her, as a single mother alone in a country where any relatives were a transatlantic flight away. She did her best not to let me see it, but every so often when she thought she was alone, the mask would fall away, and in every line of her face I could see exhaustion and loneliness. As much as I missed my father, it was those moments that made me wish, more than anything, that he'd never been taken. Fortunately, I was an excellent student and did especially well in math. I earned a full-ride scholarship straight out of high school and spent the next several years studying. After graduation, I took a job with the Department of Defense, hoping that they may have the resources to help me look for my father. I was immediately assigned to the Special Office of Internal Security. The purpose is to investigate and sometimes deal with terrorist organizations and other serious threats to the state. By the way, SOIS, Special Office of International Security, or Internal Security. I could tell my mother wasn't very happy about my decision, but she chose to remain silent about it. Eventually, I learned that the terrorist organization that had taken my father was none other than the Myrmidons, although at that time, the name didn't mean anything to me. They were suspected of human cloning. Specifically, it was thought that they had been using cloning techniques to copy the most useful members and expand their ranks. The Myrmidons apparently believed that they could use cloning to create a new race of humans. Now, at last, I knew the reason for my father's abduction. The commander of the Myrmidons is a man named Left. We know his name and his gender, but not his appearance or his age. The Myrmidons are closely associated with the cult known as Free the Soul. We believe the Free the Soul provides the funding. But trying to pin any kind of misdeeds on the cult's leader, a man named Brother, is like trying to nail Jello to a wall. Brother is supposed to be fairly advanced in years, and rumors say he's so old he can't even get out of bed. Unfortunately, his mind seems to be as sharp as ever. At that point, I hit a wall. I knew the Myrmidons had been behind my father's kidnapping, but that was all I could learn about them. Then, one day, I got a tip that some of them were hiding in a building in the Nevada desert. I headed out immediately. On the way there, my car had some engine trouble and stalled out. I was trying to decide what to do when an SUV appeared out of nowhere. I'll give you one guess who was behind the steering wheel. Clover. That was the first time we met. There were 4 other people in the car with her, and when I asked them what they were doing, I got what was just about the last answer I'd ever expect. They told me they'd been locked up inside of the very building I'd been on my way to investigate, and that they were currently in pursuit of the people who had kidnapped them in the first place. My priorities shifted very quickly. After a short discussion, I convinced them to allow me to come along. My hope was to find the people they were chasing, who I was certain were Myrmidons. In the end, however, we were unable to track them down. In fact, I still don't know where they might have gone. Eventually, I took Clover and her companions to SOIS headquarters. We decided that involving the police would only complicate things. After some questioning, it was determined that the people who had instigated this particular event were not connected to the Myrmidons. We did, however, discover that the mysterious disappearance and subsequent reappearance of several children 9 years prior was connected to Free the Soul. There was also a 6-person SUV, although they weren't riding in it per se. A middle-aged man, who I'll just call H for now, had been bound and placed in the trunk. Yeah, that's a Hungo or Ace. According to the other 4, he had been behind the disappearance of the children 9 years earlier. There he is. And there's the 9th man to the right. We also learned that his pharmaceutical company, a major player on the world stage, was effectively controlled by Free the Soul. More specifically, I suppose, H was a member of Free the Soul and very committed to their cause. So, if he's a member of Free the Soul, then the games were to connect to the Esper field because the soul existed outside the body, and if you can connect to the field, then you can connect to something greater than yourself. Is that what's going on? So why had he kidnapped all those children? Apparently, it had been part of an experiment designed to test the ability of certain people to access what's called the morphogenetic field. I don't imagine you've ever heard of it before, so I'll try and give you a quick rundown. Simply put, these people can access a sort of field that allows their consciousness to resonate with the consciousnesses of certain other people. To be honest, it might be simpler just to call it telepathy. The SOIS had heard of this particular ability before, and had actually used it in a number of investigations, so I wasn't surprised to learn of its existence. I was shocked, however, to learn that these experiments had been carried out by a member of Free the Soul. If that was the case, then Brother must have known about it. The thought of him discovering a way to control and harness that power was terrifying. It wasn't too long after the incident in Nevada that another tip about the Myrmidons crossed my desk. This time, it claimed that the Myrmidons intended to launch a large-scale biological terrorist attack. My bosses decided that we needed more agents to deal with the threat of that magnitude, and Clover was recruited. Because she'd been a test subject in H's experiment, we knew she had the ability to access the morphogenetic field, and we wanted to put that ability to use. After several months of training, she was sent on her first mission. She would be tasked with the infiltration and investigation of a Myrmidon cloning lab. I was assigned to be her commanding officer. I hoped that our investigation might also give me a lead on my father's whereabouts. At last, I had a chance to find out what had happened to him. I wouldn't let that chance pass me by. Perhaps that was what kept me from noticing the truth. The whole operation was a trap. The lab was fake, and Clover was captured almost immediately. I got there as fast as I could, but when I arrived, the building was only an empty shell. All the conspirators who had pretended to be researchers and the like had already fled. I searched frantically for Clover until at last, in a basement room, I found her. She had been tied to a chair, but on the floor next to her was another body. It was my father. Oh. He looked as if he'd just been dumped there, and when I got to him, his body was already cold. He was covered in dark, ugly bruises. It wasn't until later that I learned he had died from ruptured organs and internal bleeding. They had beaten him to death. As soon as Clover had been captured, a myrmidon in a mask had come to visit her. He said that unless she wanted to end up like my father, she would leave them alone and tell her masters at the SOIS to do likewise. In retrospect, they must have known who I was and who my father was. That was why they killed him. Perhaps they thought they were sending a message to me. Or, once he was gone, I'd lose my reason for chasing them. They were very, very wrong. I took Clover with me and left. I tried to console myself with the fact that I had, at least, been able to save her. Sometime later, I received a call from the coroner. He told me there was something I needed to see. There in the morgue was my father, cold and pale on a steel table. I could barely stand to look at him, but the coroner insisted. On his arm were 2 rows of numbers, comprised of 8s and 9s. It took me a moment to recognize my father's handwriting. He had carved them into his own skin. On his chest was another message, but they were letters this time, not numbers. Not many, just enough to make a short sentence. I love you, Alice. Oh. Oh. I broke down crying, right there in the morgue. They were the first tears I'd shed since the operation had started, and there was no stopping them. There would be no forgiveness. Not for the monsters who'd put my father through this. They destroyed my family. I would make them pay, even if I had to die to do it. That night, I made a promise to myself. I would avenge my father. All the dots. All the, my name is Alice. You killed my father. Prepare to die dots. It didn't take long to figure out that the numbers he'd written were latitude and longitude. They pointed to a chemical factory that had been disguised as an abandoned building. Further investigation revealed that was the mother lode we've been looking for, the headquarters of the Myrmidons. I think my father must have known how things would turn out. Knowing he was going to die, he written the directions to our enemy's fortress on his own body. He'd sacrificed too much for me to waste this opportunity with recklessness. This time, our operation would succeed. This time, I wouldn't let my excitement put Clover or any of my other agents in danger. So we took our time, we gathered information, we did our research, and we planned. Finally, we were ready. December 25th, 2028 was going to be the day we finally set foot inside the Myrmidon stronghold. But then, on the 22nd, only 3 days before the operation was scheduled to begin, a man in a gas mask appeared. All the dots. All the 0 dots. You know, I just had like this sudden thought. Because we know that Sigma is K, however that works, what if this version of Sigma, this robotic version, is 0? What if Sigma as 0 basically is designing something to prevent, you know, this horrible future from coming true? Anyway, this is Alice's story today, but that was just a random thought. So you inhaled that gas, passed out, and woke up here in the AB room?
Yes.
All the dots. Oh, they just like everyone else thought.
Well, there it is. Everything that's happened with the Myrmidons and me. I left a few of the details out, of course, but you get the idea.
Yeah. Thanks. There's that lion. She gave me a sad sort of smile and stood up.
We should go back.
Not yet. Your story explained a lot, but there's still one big question.
Which is?
Who here is a Myrmidon? One of us planted the bombs. And based off the code we found, it's pretty clear that person is a Myrmidon. So we are, what, like 99.9% sure now that Dio is the one who planted the bombs? Right?
Yes.
And I agree that we need to figure out who they are.
What do you propose we do?
Well, that's what I want to ask you about. Do you have any clues?
Clues? Well, if I could decrypt that code, it might tell us something, but...
How can we do that?
I told you. We need a key. Without that, it's pointless.
What's a key?
A key is a key. It allows you to sort of unlock a code. Myrmidons usually use this huge string of numbers as a key.
Wait. A long string of numbers? Could that be? Oh, the zero bomb. All the dots. All the numbered dots. All the dots. All the Dio dots. Whoa! Sigma! My man! Spouting out the 7815361098838094241990551. Oh, man.
What the hell?
Trophy earned. I was almost as surprised as she was. We just broke through a lock, my friends. Yeah. We just broke through a lock. We didn't even know it. Sweet. The numbers had just kind of appeared in my mind, and I was saying them before I knew what I was doing. Alice looked at me incredulously, and I stared back.
Where did... Wait. Can you say that again?
7815361098838094241990551.
That's 198,449,351 to the third power.
How do you know that? Like, seriously. That's insane. What?
That number you just told me. Prime factor decomposition on that number gets you 198,449,351 to the third power.
Okay, my brain just exploded. You're talking about reducing an integer to a series of prime numbers that you multiply together to get it, right? Like, if you have 30, then you get 2 times 3 times 5, right? That's just prime factorization.
Exactly. You probably learned that in junior high, right?
So you're saying that that number is a prime. And if you multiply it by itself 3 times, you get the even bigger number.
Yes.
Don't tell me you just did all of that in your head.
I did do all of that in my head.
That's really impressive.
Simple mental arithmetic.
That's there is nothing simple about what you just did. What? No way. That's impossible.
I told you. I'm better at math than most people.
That's not better at math.
Look at you. You just recited a huge string of numbers. That seems pretty astounding, too.
All the dots. She's got to point dots.
Where did you find that number anyway?
It's strange that we can remember the number, but we can't remember that was Dio that said the number. I didn't know what to say. What would I tell her? That just came to me?
Can't tell me, huh? Fine. I'm pretty sure that's the key to the code, though. I know the Myrmidons use prime factors for their keys. And there aren't a lot of 25-digit numbers that turn out to be the third power of a prime number. I think there's a very good chance that number you memorized was specifically created by someone.
Could you explain that with, small words?
Well, look at the prime factors of your number. 198,449,351 to the third power. I think that's our hint for cracking the code.
All the dots?
You still don't get it? Try to remember the code we saw in the infirmary. What did it say on the monitor?
I think the first row was CQUJHNMTEONERAXDFMIOVP.
And the second row?
How do you memorize this? BYOLWXYPXSBZEQGTKRTLED. I think. Then they just repeat.
Wow, you've got a pretty impressive memory.
I know! For reals!
We could really use someone like you back at the...
Well, keep going. How do we decode that?
You use 198,449,351 to point you to the right letters.
How do we do that?
Well, the first number is 1, so take the first letter. The next number is 9, so go 9 letters over from the first one. Then 8 from that one.
Oh! Okay. I understand.
Just keep going until you get something. Make sense?
Yeah, it does. I ran over what she said in my head. The prime number Alice had given me was 198449351. Okay. Well, we could decode this ourselves, but I feel the game's going to decode it for us, so let's just let Sigma find out the answer when we find it out. So what would we get if we picked out letters like she'd explained? The first letter would be C from the top left. Then you move 9 to the right, which would give you O. Then 8 more to the right. Eventually we get a word. And that word was... Decode the password. Oh my gosh. I hate you, game. 198. I have to write this code down. 449351. Alright. The code sheet won't be displayed when you input your answer, so it'd be wise to solve it now. The key is whatever. Remember, the key is this. Closing this window will make you take you to the input screen. Okay. Wait! No! I Stop! Let me go back! No! No, that's not fair! Take me back to that screen. Oh, come on, game. Oh, I couldn't see the screen because of... I couldn't see the screen because that text was in the way. So I thought if I press the button, the text would go away so they would show me the screen and then I could see what was going on. Okay, well, we're gonna find out what happens if you get it wrong 6 times in a row. You know, this is a good thing to do anyway, though. For completion reasons. You know, see what happens. Arg. I can't figure it out.
You what? Are you serious?
Hey, get off my back. If I don't know, I don't know.
What? Just forget it. I'll figure it out on my own.
She stalked off. Wait. I went to follow her, but...
Stay where you are. I don't have any use for another brain-dead man.
Wow. Her voice was unexpectedly furious and it stopped me cold. She fixed me with an icy glare, then turned and stalked off. I stayed frozen where I was and watched her go. All the dots. All the... I really wish I would have written that code down dots. So it's gonna be a game over? Yes. Okay. Cool. No, I mean, that's you know, hey, if you're trying to get, like, all the story in a game, you kind of have to do things like that sometimes, where you just don't give the right answer. Because not giving the right answer allows you to see something you would not have seen. With that said, though, I'm going to go back. I'm going to write down the code. I'm going to figure the answer out. And then I'm going to come back to that screen. And then we'll come back to the screen and input the code correctly. Thank you for watching this video. Feel free to comment on what you saw and what you would like to see next. I always love to hear your thoughts. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more. Also, please do not forget, you matter, you are brilliant, and you are loved. and you should always remember to be true to yourself. Don't let the world tell you any different. Much love to you from your friendly feathered flightless bird. Till next time.